to a broken AC, flickering lights to furnace fights, even drains and duct cleaning, we've got it handled. Plumbing, heating, air, and electrical, all under one trusted roof. Proudly serving homes across Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas and ready 24/7. Visit calljh.com or call John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
And electrical.
Winter is just around the corner. Is your vehicle ready? Don't get left out in the cold. At A1 Automotive, we prep your car for whatever winter throws your way here in Nebraska. For battery checks, to brake inspections, tires, heaters, whatever your car needs to keep you and your family safe on the road, we've got you covered. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services is here to help you protect things that are most important to you. Whether it's your home, your family, or your future, Jack Russell has the proven experience to get the job done while developing authentic relationships with you. Give Jack a call today at 402-421-9100. Again, that's 402-421-9100. Or visit one of his 2 locations in Lincoln or Seward and learn how you can excel in the complicated world of insurance. Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, a trusted and well-respected representative since 1999.
This is your year to win way more than bragging rights. At Warhorse Casino, your love of the game could earn you serious cash. The Pro Football Frenzy is free to play with cash prizes all season long, like up to $1,000 weekly, with your chance at $1 million, all while earning tier points and comp points every time you place a sports bet. Only at Warhorse Casino. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Welcome into the post-game post-up. Nebraska basketball just finished up another game. Hustle down to the block and get position.
Shot clock to 7. Hoiberg. Missed. Got his own rebound. Right back up. Missed it. And there he is. Garcia. How big has he been down the stretch for this Nebraska ball club? 10 points all in the second half. Now the lead back to 3.
Join 93.7 The Ticket to break down the best players and key moments from today's action.
Sanford a couple of steps from behind the line. And now Lawrence from the corner. He hits. And another eruption from all the red in Lincoln. Not even close. Creighton has not been able to hit anything. 0 for 8 from distance. Prager hits some space. He connects.
Post-game coverage of Nebraska basketball on The Ticket is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, the Lincoln Airport, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical.
Here we gotta go. Down to 5. Hoiberg kicks it out. Lawrence for the win. Got it.
It's the post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket.
They are under a minute now from Pinnacle Bank Arena. Things are winding down. Nebraska doing everything they can to try to compete and make this a closer game here at the end. Huskers still down 7, but we run on radio time, so we've got to go ahead and jump in for the post-game show while there is under a minute left here. I'm Jake Bakovan on 93.7 The Ticket. We appreciate you tuning in and listening as we are going to have some fun here over the next hour. Unfortunately, might not come with a Husker W. As we know, this has all been an incredible year for Nebraska, jumping out to 20-0 into the top 5. And it appears the Huskers have hit a bit of a roadblock from there, as many programs across the country would. You play 2 top 10 teams, one on the road without 2 of your best players, and then 1 at home. It can be difficult to get through those. Nebraska had a heck of a game, especially a first half today. They're up 39-33. Boy, I think they had 11 three-pointers in the first half, just hitting everything. And that's what it's been. That's what the attack has been for Nebraska so far on the day. Sam Hoiberg's been getting some layups here recently, so their points in the paint might jump here at the end of the game. But for the most part, it's been about hitting the threes for Nebraska. Illinois has controlled the paint for a majority of the game. But again, it was just a great crowd today. You had the whiteout, you had the dunk contest at halftime for the Nebraska football. I mean, it was just a fun environment. The first top 10 matchup in Pinnacle Bank Arena, obviously with Nebraska in the top 10. So it is, again, winding down here. Illinois going to the free throw line. They're up 7 with about 40 seconds to go here. Again, can't do play-by-play, just an update there on what's going on. But we will also be joined by Austin Orman. Once the game has wrapped up, he will go in and figure out what the coaches have to say about this game, specifically, of course, Coach Fred Hoiberg. And then he will join us and give us that information and give us his own thoughts on what went potentially wrong today for the Huskers again, as what's left. And now, I mean, I've seen Reggie Miller pull off some miracles. So you never want to say a game is over until there are 3 zeros on the clock. But it looks more closely like Nebraska's going to be fighting off whether they're going to lose by single digits or double digits here. But again, give them credit. They're scrapping, they're fighting, trying to get here toward the end and get another win in the win column. But it does look like it will be difficult. Also, a few things of note from this game. Certainly, Braden Frager returning, Rink Mass returning, has been a big deal, specifically for Frager today. I mean, Frager was, I believe, is Nebraska's leading scorer. I can pull that up real quick. I know that Price Sanford would be competing with him for that. But yeah, 20 points on the evening for Braden Frager. He was very hot from beyond the arc, has had to kind of force some things up here toward the end to try to get it going a little bit more. So I think it is wrapping up here. I think he finishes 50% from beyond the arc, 6 of 12. You'll definitely take that, especially coming off of an injury for Braden Frager. And early in the first half, too, is like, man, just find those corners. Illinois was definitely covering Price Sanford. You can see the effect that Price Sanford is having on opposing defenses through this streak that he's had. I mean, this run that he's had, which by the way, will come to an end of scoring 20 plus points in each of the last 5 games. Again, will come to an end here as he finishes with 14 against the Fighting Illini. But again, and he's always been a shooter. He's always been a guy that, you're going to try to run off those screens and all that sort of stuff. But just the extra attention from everybody on the court and from the coaches emphasizing, don't let this guy get a shot because, his release is just so quick. You've heard many analysts and coaches talk about how quick it is, maybe the quickest release in college basketball, at least for on par with how successful he is there. But yeah, and so he was Nebraska's second leading scorer today with 14 points. Once again, it has wrapped up from Pinnacle Bank Arena, all over now. Illinois defeats Nebraska. Number 9 Illinois, that is, defeats number 5 Nebraska 78-69. And again, this is a bit of a tale of two halves. Not that Illinois did not play well in the first half. You could see why they're a top 10 team. And of course, Nebraska already knows very well, having traveled on the road and taking out the Fighting Illini earlier in the season. But there is a certain player on Illinois' team that has really stepped up over the last month. I mean, I'll put it this way too: if you haven't seen it, if you haven't seen this staff for Illinois, just scouting them coming into the game, this will be their 11th straight. Now, Nebraska fans know to reel off 20 straight, you need some breaks here and there, but he also needs a heck of a team and some really good players, and that's what Illinois has. And Keaton Wagler specifically really turned it on for the Fighting Illini. And he does so once again here today. The Illini, by the way, and I know this is going to be mentioned by Husker fans throughout this week and until we get to the next game, is that Rink Mass certainly didn't look himself. And so, you can always go back to, injuries and sickness and stuff like that. Just kind of a bad time here with these top 10 teams. And it's true. But you also have to acknowledge that Illinois is without Kylan Boswell, who is their second leading scorer. Many kind of look as the leader of that team. The senior point guard for them was pretty darn good against Nebraska early, has been pretty good altogether. But his absence has really allowed Keaton Wagler to really go off. and he has 46 points. I know many people saw that at Purdue. I think he's got 4 Big Ten Freshman of the Week awards. And of course, we get excited for Braden Frager. He's got a few of them, but it's going to be tough to dethrone Keaton Wagler at this point in the season for Big Ten Freshman of the Year, and certainly for Player of the Game today. Nebraska did a good job with him, kind of frustrating him. He's a guy with really deep range, NBA range. Was a little bit off in the first half. Nebraska, and I know officials officiating will always be another topic that we will discuss. But I didn't think it was too bad today. As usual with Illinois on the sideline, Brad Underwood, a bit of a barking dog. So he will kind of get the crowd going, and people might want text and that sort of thing. But, back to the Wagler point is he was contested well in the first half. Nebraska was kind of, every time he was kind of getting to the paint, doing a good job of contesting his shot. So he just really couldn't get going. 5 points in the first half. But he absolutely erupted there in the second half and just steered Illinois the right direction, got them to what they needed to be, and a double-digit lead there throughout much of the second half for Illinois. And it's just sad to see it. Sad to see how that played out, right? Again, so the final stretch there in the second half, 45-30, the Fighting Illini beat Nebraska in the second half by 15 points. Nebraska again with the 39-33 halftime lead. But again, that doesn't tell the whole story, because Nebraska had to go on quite a bit of a run themselves in the first half. In fact, a 14-2 run to end the first half. That was without Jamarcus Lawrence, who picked up his second foul. You've been following Fred Hoiberg's programs closely over the last several years. 2 fouls in the first half usually makes for a nice seat on the bench next to him until at least you get to the second half. And that was the case for Lawrence, but Nebraska did not blink. They played well. Again, credit the hustlers. The players that are absolutely giving it their all to get everything, the scrap for everything. And that is typically reserved for guys like Sam Hoiberg and Kel Jacobson. And they did it again today. Absolutely great games as far as putting hustle out there, diving for loose balls. Kel Jacobson got a block on Wagler on a three-pointer. He also got a steal, went all the way down. Nobody picked him up. It wasn't necessarily fast break, but nobody picked him up. So he just kept going. Nebraska's bigs did a good job today when they did notice that to kind of clear out the area for him and allowed him to do that. Sam Hoiberg just, helping keeping Nebraska in this game, making it close there toward the end. And he hit some big threes throughout the game. He finished with 2 of those. But especially there toward the end, he was getting some buckets late to kind of keep Nebraska within striking distance. But again, just wasn't meant to be today, as Nebraska ends up dropping it 78-69. I've been jabbering on for a while. It's time to hear from you. Hit us up on the text line here. Starter Heyman Jewelers text line 402-464-5685 with your thoughts. We can kind of blend them into this hoops post-game show as we go along. Definitely go over the stats as well. Again, as Nebraska falls to 20-2, 9-2 in the Big Ten with a 78-69 loss to the Fighting Illini. Cubsker texts in, says absolutely awful second half. Lack of either calls in the paint, or we're just not getting shots up. But the best teams can do both. We haven't done that a lot this year. Gotta get better. And of course, for a lot of the year, again, that has been reserved to, hey, we need a bucket. Anytime they needed a bucket, needed some important shots, and they went to it again here. Their man on the season has been Rink Mast, and he has had a few different games where he'd struggled throughout the game, really didn't kind of find his efficiency for that day. And then when they needed a bucket, 6 minutes to go, 4 minutes to go, they'd go to him, whether in the paint or one of his deep threes, and he'd find it. And that's been a big part of the stretch for Nebraska to win these games. Today wasn't necessarily the case. Rink did finally get on the scoring column there late, but that was by hitting his final shots when Nebraska were down. He started 0 for 8 for the day. Still, effective out there as you would expect him to be. 5 assists, 4 rebounds, but it is always going to hurt you. And by the way, the 4 rebounds against a tall lineup against Illinois, so kind of doing the boxing out there. But yeah, just so that would be my kind of thoughts there to that text is, Rink Mast would typically be that sort of guy. The other thing is that, going back to what Illinois is, they just got a lot of length. The Ivasic, Tomlasov and Zonomir Ivasic, both a lot of length to go along with their just sheer size. They go at 7-1 and 7-2. And so that was that's always going to be a little bit hard to kind of get it going. Maybe could have had maybe some set plays or something down low to get Bear K going. Possibly, but maybe that's just on a matchup they necessarily loved. It was interesting. Didn't see Jared Garcia today, and I'll be interested to hear, why that was. Is it just a thing where you get Rink Mass back in? They felt they were good with 7, or did he have to sit out for some reason today? Because Garcia had a season high against Illinois last game with 10 points. Of course, everybody remembers a few notes from that first original Illinois game. Obviously, the Jamarcus Lawrence 3-pointer to win the game. Bryce Sanford going off like crazy to start that game. But a big part of that win for Nebraska, again, on the road in Champaign, Illinois, was Jared Garcia in the second half, just kind of fighting for buckets and, again, get to a season-high 10. Did not play today. Not that he's a overly dominant post figure either, and neither is Bear K at this point. We know Nebraska is going to kind of live and die with the 3-pointer, but, to that point from Cubsker, just not a whole lot of opportunities, low post for Nebraska to score there. Let's get to a couple other thoughts here. 6706. It's getting really hard to watch these Big Ten officials, he says. Is there some reason Nebraska gets unfair treatment so often? Maybe I'm just frustrated, but it seems that way more often than not. I'm interested to see what the reaction is to that. I mean, me personally, I saw a few things. Again, in any basketball game, you can call a few things either way. Nebraska generally is not going, and I know this is a big talking point from the previous game, and it appears here too, is where the free throw discrepancy. Well, that kind of plays into where Nebraska is not attacking again, going low post, all that sort of stuff. They did get to the line a few times, but their offense is built around finding open shooters and launching the ball from beyond the arc. Not a lot of intermediate shots. Got a few guys, obviously, that can drive, but it's not like Nebraska has a James Palmer. If you kind of remember back to guys that are just very effective at going to the hoop, drawing the foul, whether it be an and one or just to the line for 2. Nebraska doesn't necessarily have one of those players, and as a team, they don't really do that. So again, you're going to see the giant free throw discrepancy in this game. Illinois with 26 free throws, Nebraska with 5. And so that might kind of frustrate you, but I think part of that is the style of play. If Nebraska goes in to a game, you got to hit your free throws when you get there. But generally, the way that this team is built, the way that they play, they're not going to win the game necessarily through that. Again, timeliness. There's always going to be a free throws where it comes down to your, so I'm not saying it might not literally come down to that at some point, but more often than not, Nebraska is not going to get more free throws than their opponent, especially a team like Illinois, who does drive to the bucket quite a bit. They do have overwhelming size, so it can be difficult for smaller defenders to try to compete and guard without fouling at times, especially in the paint. So, I think that all is going to play a factor into that. Me personally, again, there's always going to be a few calls. I didn't necessarily see anything here that swung the game to Illinois' side more so than Nebraska. Nebraska just got outplayed in the second half. And again, you can kind of go back to whether it's fair or not. Rink Mass is a big part of this team, a big part of why they're number 5 in the nation. When you're playing, number 9, a lot of times you're going to need that sort of effort. Now, you could combat that type of viewpoint with the fact that Braden Frager, of course, one of their top players throughout the year, leading scorer today, did not score at all against Illinois on the road. So, you can always overcome that, but that's going to be difficult. And again, not to put it all on Rink or anything close to that, because he's a guy that was in the hospital earlier this week. We all know, again, he sat out due to sickness, then had extreme dehydration earlier this week on the road against Michigan. So his first game back, trying to kind of get, maybe catch his legs, kind of get back into it. One way or the other, maybe, again, credit Illinois for what they did out there as well to limit him. His shots just weren't falling. And again, that's going to be a big part of it for Nebraska. But me personally, I didn't see a whole lot there. Johnny Cortland says, Launch grenades. Make sure you pull the pin. I think he's talking about taking some shots there. See if he's got... Hey, here's another thought to start off with there from John and Cortland. Had to have a couple of bumps along the road, which none thought this team would be on. If they show up, ball out, they can beat anyone. GBR, and I think that too. Again, this game is not going to be one that when we look back at this season is going to be our primary example of how great it was. Obviously, it's your second loss here, but I will say this, and especially with kind of in the first half, the broadcasters alluded to it as well. This looked like a top 10 matchup. This is not, this did not look like one team is a fluke or anything along those lines, or one team's just here to compete for the Big Ten or in March. If the timing is right or if they get certain guys going or whatever. I mean, both these teams were punching hard and big swings throughout this game. Again, Illinois definitely had the better halftime adjustments, or just one way or the other, came out and played much better in the second half. And again, though, when you look at it, if you take away Nebraska had that 6-point lead at half. If you take away that 14-2 run that they had, of course, they would have been down. Now, you can't do that, but I'm just saying, Illinois, it's not like Nebraska dominated the majority of that first half. They were just, but they were hitting threes, and they were staying involved and staying engaged and staying in the game. This is not going to be the one game that Nebraska fans necessarily will like to remember as much, but I hope that people still had good time. If you went out there and Pinnacle Bank Arena saw the whiteout, I think that was spectacular. We talk about doing that sometime on the football field, and the blackout this past year against USC was spectacular as well. To get that many people to kind of sink along and do it is great. I always mention, usually when you see this, and it's tough to get a united front from I'm not saying Husker fans, but any fan base, whether it be 13, 15,000 or, 80,000 at Memorial Stadium. It's tough to get everybody to just get the word out that it's going to be a whiteout. But I don't know. I did see a few red shirts. There wasn't much more than that. So I do give credit to the Husker fan base for showing out once again and making it a daunting atmosphere. The Husker basketball team just didn't get enough buckets today, didn't get enough stops, and so there you have it, 78-69 loss to the Fighting Illini of Illinois. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. More of your thoughts we will talk with you guys here on the text line 402-464-5685, the Sauter Heyman Jewelers text line. We've got a few more thoughts. We can jump back and start with those when we come back from commercial. Also wanted to say, again, that Austin Orban will be joining me as well before this show concludes. Did want to shout out our sponsors here on the post-game show, though, as well. Union Bank and Trust. Get a great rate on 6, 12, or 24-month CDs with Union Bank and Trust. Learn more at ubt.com. Also, shout out John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical. Proudly serving the Lincoln and Omaha and surrounding areas. John Henry's can assist you with any service like electrical maintenances, installation, or repair. Call today at 402-809-1159 or go to jhlincoln.com. Also want to give a shout out to the Lincoln Airport. American Airlines is back at Lincoln Airport, bringing new nonstop flights from Lincoln to Dallas and Fort Worth and to Chicago's O'Hare starting in June of 2026, with seasonal winter service to Phoenix starting in winter of 2026. Tickets are on sale now. So you definitely have that to look forward to, even if you're looking for a trip out of Lincoln. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with the Hoops Postgame Show here on 93.7 The Ticket.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins'. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Want to make the easy call? Call John Henry's. From leaky pipes to a broken AC, flickering lights to furnace fights, even drains and duct cleaning, we've got it handled. Plumbing, heating, air, and electrical, all under one trusted roof. Proudly serving homes across Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas, and ready 24/7. Visit calljh.com or call
John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
And electrical.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize to participate in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the KNTK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contests, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Let's fly. Your next trip starts at Lincoln Airport with American Airlines. Now flying nonstop service to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago. American Airlines connects Lincoln to major hubs and destinations around the globe. Wherever you're headed, LNK gets you there with new nonstop flights on American Airlines. Now boarding. Convenient, fast, and stress-free. Book your next flight at LincolnAirport.com. LNK, make flying easy.
Winter is just around the corner. Is your vehicle ready? Don't get left out in the cold. At A1 Automotive, we prep your car for whatever winter throws your way here in Nebraska. For battery checks, brake inspections, tires, heaters, whatever your car needs to keep you and your family safe on the road, we've got you covered. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services is here to help you protect things that are most important to you. Whether it's your home, your family, or your future, Jack Russell has the proven experience to get the job done while developing authentic relationships with you. Give Jack a call today at 402-421-9100. Again, that's 402-421-9100. Or visit one of his 2 locations in Lincoln or Seward and learn how you can excel in the complicated world of insurance. Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, a trusted and well-respected representative since 1999.
Is your furnace ready for winter? Call Bryant to perform a thorough check for comfort and peace of mind. 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. Whatever it takes.
This is your year to win way more than bragging rights. At Warhorse Casino, your love of the game could earn you serious cash. The Pro Football Frenzy is free to play with cash prizes all season long, like up to $1,000 weekly, with your chance at $1 million, all while earning tier points and comp points every time you place a sports bet. Only at Warhorse Casino. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
Hi, this is Doug Keller. When I started my first little body shop in Eustis back in 1979, I never dreamed it would grow to 8 locations and over 100 employees in Nebraska. I knew then, as I know now, that if you treat people right, they will keep coming back and also send their friends, which is why our tagline is, where our customers send their friends. I guess there are many things in life that change, but the golden rule never does.
The most recommended Eustis Body Shop. That's who we are.
Have you been looking for home technology upgrades but don't know where to turn? Online information can be contradicting and confusing. Lincoln's own experts at Dio Technologies can turn your living room into the place to watch your favorite sports. Whatever your vision is, Dio Tech is ready to make it a reality. From home theaters to outdoor entertainment spaces, they bring you along through the entire process to make sure you get exactly what you want. If you're ready to upgrade your entertainment space, visit Diotech online at diotech.net or give them a call at 402-793-5124.
Now back to the post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket. Post-game coverage of Nebraska basketball on The Ticket is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, the Lincoln Airport, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical. It's the post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket.
Yes, we are back here in Lincoln as Nebraska falls, unfortunately, to the Fighting Illini of Illinois, 78-69. Hopefully my voice doesn't sound too enthusiastic about that because I'm not excited about it. But of course, you have to you got to take these along the way, I suppose. We had hopes, of course, a week ago that Nebraska could go undefeated through this season, be the first team to just go undefeated all the way. But at some point, we probably likely knew that this season was going to come with a couple losses. But man, these type of moments are why you kind of remind yourself, how difficult it is to win 20 straight games, including against a team the caliber of the Illinois Fighting Illini. And once again, I know Nebraska fans aren't going to love what they saw today. I think there was a lot to be proud of. Nebraska, similar to the Michigan game. I mean, that was what was so interesting about this past week is you don't want to take moral victories, and they did not on the team and in the locker room. But the Husker fan base and just Nebraska basketball in general got a lot of respect from around the country. Now, I don't know how many people were tuning in this in the as far as national basketball eyes go, but again, one of those deals. If they watched about 30 minutes of this game, they would have been really impressed with the Huskers. But things just started to kind of fall apart there in the second half. Once again, Nebraska with a 6-point halftime lead. Illinois came out pretty convincingly there in the second half. Had an 11-2 run early in that second half to erase Nebraska's lead. And then, just kind of went from there. Keaton Vogler shows why he is the Big Ten Freshman of the Year, will end up being that. Unless, I don't know what would take it away from him at this point. 28 points this evening, 23 in the second half. And again, I think a lot of people are going to look at one side of the ball, as you generally do, with Nebraska just shooting so well in the first half. You can get fixated on the three-pointer. Nebraska was. They had 11 first-half threes. Program record for a game is 18, so they're on pace for that. Season record for a game this year, 17, so they're on pace for that. They just couldn't keep up that hot shooting. Part of that was Price Sanford. Did not have a big game in the second half. I believe he finished with 2 points. I'd have to go back and look at that in the second half. So to altogether finishing with 14, but I think he had 12 at the break. So, that's a big part of it. Nebraska is its most lethal and most dangerous when he's hitting threes. Once again, because as I was kind of explaining there in the first segment, I know a lot of people know this and have paid attention to it, but you can even see the space, the reaction from, the teams know how hot he is. And again, this breaks his 5-game streak of 20 plus points per game. And he was on pace for that in the first half. Just did not come together in the second half. And so once again, a lot of people are going to look at that. You're not going to beat Illinois too often, a team that's as talented as they are, by scoring 30 points in the second half. But you're also not going to beat them by getting up 45 in the second half. Nebraska's kind of had these night and day games throughout the year as well. And so a little bit of a taste of our own medicine, if you will, to kind of go through that and see that, because, that's been fun when Nebraska had a few slow starts. They come out in a second half earlier this year and score 51 points. And you go, oh my gosh, that's a bombardment of offense. How do you even slow that down? Well, that's what Illinois did to Nebraska in the second half. So I think a lot of that is going to be interesting to see what Fred Hoiberg has to say, what Brad Underwood has to say about the halftime adjustments and what were made there. It was interesting. Nebraska known definitely for their double teams, right? When the opposing team and the Illinois Fighting Illini in this case were driving, you could see they tried to split those double teams quite often, and it just wasn't working all that well in the first half. So maybe there was a bit of an adjustment made there. Nebraska, as they usually do, they're just so good at getting their hands in the lanes. And you've got a few guys that are absolute swipers out there. Sam Hoiberg specifically. Nebraska, again, 5 steals today. Illinois with just 3 there. So helped out in that case. Neither team altogether too turnover prone. I think both coaches can live with the 8 turnovers that each team finished up with. But, Nebraska directly doing that with 5 of those steals and a couple hustle plays from both teams too today that would just make any basketball coach or fan proud, from the likes of Sam Hoiberg and Kel Jacobson, but also from Illinois. I think it was Visich who got a block and then was able, as he was going out of bounds, to save it and throw it off a Nebraska offensive player. So that it has just been very impressive that way. So as we continue here on the Hoops Post Game Show, I want to remind you our sponsors, Union Bank and Trust. Get a great rate on a 6, 12, or 20-month CD with Union Bank and Trust. Learn more at ubt.com. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, proudly serving the Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas. John Henry's can assist you with any service like electrical, maintenance, installation, or repair. Call today at 402-809-1159 or go to jhlincoln.com. Lincoln Airport, American Airlines is back at Lincoln Airport, bringing new nonstop flights from Lincoln to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago O'Hare starting in June 2026 with seasonal winter service to Phoenix starting in winter of 2026. Tickets are on sale now. And we do have a call in from Jake Sorensen, who I believe was there at the arena. Again, we're waiting Austin Orban to join the show, but I believe Jake Sorensen is on the line. Jake, are you there?
I am here, Bach.
Hey, glad to hear from you. Unfortunately, I wish we had a better, better reason to celebrate here, you joining the post-game show. But I do appreciate you doing it and calling in one way or the other. I believe you went to the arena. How was the atmosphere today?
I was there, and the whiteout was exceptional on TV. I thought the crowd was into it for sure. I mean, for a top 10 match, we don't see that very often here at Pinnacle Bank Arena. And it was electric, Bach. But I was listening to the post-game show before I called in, and you're right. I have a question for you, though. I mean, you mentioned you are correct that Keaton Wagler will no doubt be the Big Ten Freshman of the Year. I'm here to say I think he is the Player of the Year in the conference. I don't think there's a better player. I mean, the guy put up 46 points last Saturday at Mackey Arena at Purdue, a record in that arena for anybody in the history of college basketball on the road. Tonight, 5 points in the first half. I think he started off 2 of 9 in the game, and he was just very, very calm and collected. 23 points in the second half. I mean, 28 points overall. That to me, I mean, people say Jeremy Fears, Michigan State. I mean, he's fine. Landon Borg at Michigan, great player. To me, if I had to assess the Big Ten, and I'm not trying to live in the moment here, but watching him the last month or so, the Big Ten Player of the Year is also the Freshman of the Year, and his name is Keaton Wagler. Hands down, no questions asked.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree. You know, I can't disagree with that. He's had, I think, double digits in every Big Ten game so far, and he absolutely kind of overtook that second half. What were your thoughts on the game? People, again, we have a few texts. Mr. Mike D saying, what about the elephant in the room, the free throw disparity? Did you have any complaints with the officials today?
Not really. Not. I mean, again, it was not great. It was, again, a lot. Like Michigan, same thing as that result. But here, I mean, those teams drive. Those teams try to score in the paint. Nebraska is, if you want to look at a reason why people would doubt them in terms of being a Final Four contender, Nebraska just doesn't have the size. They don't drive. And, you know, they've had some moments against the lesser teams like Michigan, you know, Minnesota, and Northwestern where they've driven the lane and been fine. But against the better teams, Illinois is so freaking rangy. I mean, if we learn anything tonight about this team, Bach, about this conference, I think Illinois is the best team in the Big Ten. Michigan, of course, had a really, really good week beating Nebraska at home at Michigan State. I think when those teams play, Illinois is a better team, even without Kylan Boswell, who didn't play tonight. Again, don't forget he had 20 points against Nebraska in that win for the Huskers in Champaign in December. Didn't play tonight with the injury to the wrist. Didn't matter. I mean, they are so rangy. They're so long. They're so tough. They're physical. Like, they just that is a team we saw tonight that could win the national championship. Now, Nebraska can make a run too, but I think Illinois could absolutely give Arizona a run for their money when it comes to the very end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot missing from Brad Underwood's squad.
No.
Certainly have the length and the playmaking ability there from Wagler. You know, Jake Davis was very critical in his threes that he hit for them today as well. So, I mean, they are going to be a tough team. There's a reason why they are ranked in the top 10, and there's a reason why it was such a big victory for Nebraska to go on the road and win there. As you kind of walk away from this game from Nebraska's side, as we know, you're not going to win every game in basketball. But what do you think it was that ultimately that you walk away saying, man, that probably cost them the game?
Well, I mean, there's a couple critical plays, and I'm not. It's not a thing about the refs at all. But there's a moment in the second half, Bach, where Nebraska's up. I think by 1, and Berke comes out of the ball, and he thinks called a timeout. Ends up being called a jump ball. Illinois gets the ball. The crowd's pissed off, and then Walker hits a 3. I'm not sure they ever lost the lead after that. I think they took the lead for the rest of the game at that exact moment. It was 47-46 Nebraska. It becomes 49-47 to Illinois. I believe they led the entire rest of the game. And so that right there was a critical play. I'm not saying that Nebraska goes on to score without the timeout, but momentum flipped, and Nebraska's, you mentioned a few minutes ago on the postgame show here that, I said in the crowd, like, Nebraska made 11 of 23s in the first half. That's awesome, but can you keep it up? Because if you can, you will win this basketball game. But if you can't, which is unlikely, you will likely lose. And Nebraska, makes 4 threes in the second half and still had a great percentage of shooting the three through the game. They just didn't take as many shots in the second half. So kudos to a great basketball team that Illinois is, but Nebraska has got to get more from Rick Mass, no doubt about that. Rick just, it's the elephant in the room, but ever since the Michigan State game, January 2nd, he's not been right. I mean, he has not had a great basketball game at all in a full calendar month. If this Nebraska team wants to make a deep run in March Madness, he has to be better, and he knows it. The team knows it. Like, it's a good basketball team. They had an impressive showing at Michigan without him or Frager playing, and they both played tonight. Frager was sensational, and Rick just, didn't have it. And yeah, he's getting back from injury, from health, But Bach, if he is not going to become the player he was the first half of the season, which was a potential first, second, or third team All Big Ten player, this team, has a ceiling, and I hate to see them get to that here soon. I'm not trying to be depressing and come down on this team, but Rick Mass just has to be a better person that we all know he is as the player he can be.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It's unfortunate because of how well he's done here in his Nebraska career. Obviously, had to sit out last year and stuck around and help this team get to where they are now. So it almost feels like you're you're like anti-Nebraska if you say one negative slight word about Rick Mass, and I get that. But it is also the accountability of being that player, being the best player on your team or among the best players and leaders, and especially as pivotal of a role as he plays as kind of their tall man on the court and the facilitator that can stretch it out and hit threes and all that. So it was something that I think was notable today, and I mentioned it too. He's had plenty of these games too where he's been off and it hasn't been great, to your point, really for a while here. But at times they still kind of go to him in the final 5 minutes or whatever, and he hits that big shot and they attempted to do that again today, and it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, I think you're right, Bach. Nebraska was down, I think, 8 points or something late in the game, and they drew up a play for him to hit a three, and at that point he still had no points and he missed it. And I guess, to your point, I guess why I can see why they tried that, but when you're off, it's just, it's not your night. It hasn't been his night for a full month. And the benefit, Bach, of this is that this team knows they're really good. They're still senior laden. They're old. They know they have a good squad. And the benefit is it is February 1st. It is not March Madness. This team will be a team that makes the tournament. We don't know how high they'll be first seed. They still could be a very high seed. They got Rutgers Saturday, and then, of course, Purdue is a massive road game next week. But, Rick Mass can certainly get back to his former self for the next month, and that would be massive for this program. But right now, he just has not been good enough, and I love Rick Mass. It's not me trying to be critical, say, hey, Rick Mass can't play. No, he's a starter for a reason, and he's an exceptional player. But he is, no doubt, in a funk, and this program is struggling with him not playing to his fullest capabilities. But that being said, he can find it and get back, and Nebraska needs him to find it and get back.
Yeah, and it's interesting. 9 games left for the Huskers. I just did want to kind of get your thoughts moving on at Rutgers. Like you mentioned, the next game, going to have to wait a little while. Wait till Saturday for that game, but that'll be on the road in Piscataway. The only ranked team Nebraska has left as of now, at least in the AP poll, is Purdue, which will be then on the 10th, which will be next Tuesday. And then you got Northwestern at Iowa, who's borderline ranked. They're ranked in the coaches poll, tied for 25th. Penn State, Maryland, at USC, at UCLA, and against Iowa. If you step away from the day, all the stuff that we kind of have talked about, put it into a bottle, you still feel pretty good. Obviously, like you're pointing out about, getting into the tournament, all that sort of stuff. But maybe hit a wall here as far as, the top end talent. I wouldn't even say that because we know the circumstances of not having Frager and Mass in the Michigan game. But if you're looking at it from afar, maybe not quite that top 4 program or whatever it might be. But I guess my point is, when you walk away from this game, how much of it were you impressed with Illinois compared to worried about Nebraska going into these final 9 games? Good
question. I stand by this. I'll say this on the radio right now. February 1st. Illinois, I think, is the best team in the conference, and I think they will be legitimately a contender to win the entire everything. Big Ten championships in play. I mean, they could win the entire national championship. They are that good. They're deep. They are tall. I mean, they are just such a good basketball team. So kudos to them. I mean, it's a huge statement for them, Bach. But for Nebraska, I am worried. Well, you just pointed out there. Purdue at home next week is your last ranked team. Iowa, as you said, is certainly a fringe team. UCLA has had some moments, so they look good this year. USC also. Those not be given wins end of February, early part of March. But you got to take care of business against these bad teams. Northwestern's not good. Maryland's not good. They're horrible. Penn State is a bad team. So take care of business, get these wins, and and win them comfortably. And then obviously we'll see how things go in the Big Ten tournament and March Madness. But I'm not overly concerned. I just think that if you think this is a team that can make a run to a national title, you saw reasons for doubt today because of how different they are assembled in Illinois. And don't forget, Bryce Sanford had 26 points in the first half of that game at Illinois. He would have to be sensational for them to win that game again. And Frager was awesome. Frager was incredible tonight. But you just had to have more from Sanford, who, like you said, you're right. Yeah, he only had 2 points in the second half, and Mass had 5 late in the game. But we know this team is, has still a high potential. But yeah, I mean, a team like Illinois with the range can beat you on any given night.
Yeah, so Nebraska does ultimately fall here. Jake Sorensen on the Aloe Fiber VIP line. Thanks again, Jake, for joining us. Austin just let me know he's set to join us here quickly, so we better go to break.
All right, thanks.
All right, there he goes. There goes Jake Sorensen again. Appreciate him calling in. Austin Orman on the other side here as we wrap up the Who's Postgame show on 93.7 The Ticket.
Have you been looking for home technology upgrades but don't know where to turn? Online information can be contradicting and confusing. Lincoln's own experts at Diode Technologies can turn your living room into the place to watch your favorite sports. Whatever your vision is, Diode Tech is ready to make it a reality. From home theaters to outdoor entertainment spaces, they bring you along through the entire process to make sure you get exactly what you want. If you're ready to upgrade your entertainment space, visit Diode Tech online at diodetech.net or give them a call at 402-793-5124.
Hi, this is Doug Keller. When I started my first little body shop in Eustis back in 1979, I never dreamed it would grow to 8 locations and over 100 employees in Nebraska. I knew then, as I know now, that if you treat people right, they will keep coming back and also send their friends, which is why our tagline is, where our customers send their friends. I guess there are many things in life that change, but the golden rule never does.
The most recommended Eustis Body Shop. That's who we are.
Hey guys, it's Carly from Blake Farm Outfitters, and we're all about equipping the modern farmer. Our team is Nebraska's go-to for precision planting, SurePoint liquid systems, Green Eye spot spray, and more. So whether you're considering an equipment upgrade, adding new tech, or just need a trained eye to service what you have, check us out. Creep on us at BoykeFarmOutfitters.com and get connected with our team of experts. We're excited to help you find what's next. That's BOECK FarmOutfitters.com.
Let's fly. Your next trip starts at Lincoln Airport with American Airlines. Now flying nonstop service to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago. American Airlines connects Lincoln to major hubs and destinations around the globe. Wherever you're headed, LNK gets you there with new nonstop flights on American Airlines.
Now boarding.
Convenient, fast, and stress-free. Book your next flight at LincolnAirport.com. LNK, make flying easy.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Hey there, this is Paul Scheel, owner of High Electric. I want to thank our friends and loyal customers and introduce High Electric to those looking for a new electrician. We've been serving the Lincoln and Omaha area for over 30 years, from design to install, upgrades, and repair. If you are a homeowner or a small business needing some electrical work, Call us at 402-466-6606 or check us out at hyelectric.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
A business's phone is the lifeline to its customers and potential clients. That's why it's so important that you can take calls seamlessly from anywhere, whether you're on the road or in the office. Hamilton Business Technologies can help ensure your phone rings wherever you are. We can equip your headquarters and any of its locations with the right tools for smooth, professional call handling. As the official business IT partner of the Huskers, we know how to keep Nebraska businesses connected. Learn more at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Want to make the easy call? Call John Henry's. From leaky pipes to a broken AC, flickering lights to furnace fights, even drains and duct cleaning, we've got it handled. Plumbing, heating, air, and electrical, all under one trusted roof. Proudly serving homes across Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas, and ready 24/7. Visit calljh.com or call
John Henry's. 435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
and electrical.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services is here to help you protect things that are most important to you. Whether it's your home, your family, or your future, Jack Russell has the proven experience to get the job done while developing authentic relationships with you. Give Jack a call today at 402-421-9100. Again, that's 402-421-9100. Or visit one of his 2 locations in Lincoln or Seward and learn how you can excel in the complicated world of insurance. Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, a trusted and well-respected representative since 1999.
Now back to the post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket. Post-game coverage of Nebraska basketball on The Ticket is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, the Lincoln Airport, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical. It's the post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket.
Yes, we are back here on the Hoops post-game show, post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket. Unfortunately, Nebraska takes the L today in Pinnacle Bank Arena, 78-69. This despite a run there at the end of the first half to give them the 39-33 halftime lead. However, give up 45 points in the second half, only put up 30 themselves, and in fall now to 20-2, 9-2 in Big Ten play. Illinois on the other side of it with the win, now improved to 10-1 in Big Ten play. Of course, Nebraska and Illinois are splitting the season series now. They improved to 19-3 on the season. We did have Jake Norton call in the previous segment. Now we've got Austin Orban joining me here, and we'll go ahead and keep this show rolling because we got to make this segment quick. But we'll get your initial thoughts, Austin, before we come back and kind of break down more into the game. But yeah, let's go ahead and get your initial thoughts from the loss today.
Yeah, welcome to basketball games against top 10 teams, right? Nebraska is a top 10 team, and you see the play in moments. But I think, Bach, the key takeaway for me from not just this game, but I think we can do this whole week, right? You go back to Tuesday against Michigan, and right now, today, Sunday against Illinois, is that Nebraska is really good. Nebraska's not elite, right? Nebraska had enough to finish off games against teams that are, pretty good to regular good. Nebraska hasn't quite had enough in the tank to finish off the elite teams, the best of the best. And we know, Nebraska beat Illinois once. Both these teams are in a couple of different spots right now, right? Illinois is now on an 11-game win streak after knocking off the Huskers here today. I guess the first thing I would say is there are plenty of things for Husker fans to be frustrated about, including officiating. I think there's some real things that Nebraska has to figure out offensively, some of which relates to officiating, right? Fred Hoiberg and Price Sanford both talked about Nebraska's freedom of movement offense, maybe being interrupted by some grabs and some holds that need to be officiated properly. But also, here's the thing. The two teams that Nebraska's lost to have elite positional length and size and know how to use it, right? Right now, Nebraska's kind of searching for answers offensively. We've seen this for really the last month, I would say, Bach, is that we've seen about 20 minutes of basketball or one half of basketball where it seems like things are really clicking. You bring up that run for Nebraska, they get their kill shot, they get a 14-2 run there at the end of the first half to lead it by 6 at the break. But you look at Michigan, you look at Illinois just this week, Washington, the first half against Northwestern, the first half against Minnesota. There are times this offense can still get bogged down. Nebraska had another 4-minute scoring drought today, and I think another one of 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes without hitting a field goal. And some of that you tip your cap to the other teams in the Big Ten. They're on scholarship too. They have guys that can make plays too. But I think what we're finding is that there's no reason to panic. We're not pulling the fire alarm and, getting everyone, out of school right now, right? Because really what this week has done has shown you that, okay, maybe Nebraska's not ready to be a 2 seed yet, right? That was the conversation. It was Nebraska borderline 1, they're a top 5 team, and all of that was completely warranted. But now it's completely warranted, I think, to say that, yeah, Nebraska's better than a bunch of the good teams in the Big Ten. Nebraska might just be missing something, whatever that something is, and we can talk about that, I guess, in our next segment because we're up against it here. But if you're telling me, Husker fans, you're going to be disappointed that Nebraska might not end the year as a 2 seed, I still think Nebraska is more than on pace to earn a 3 or a 4, which would have been better than anybody's, wildest hopes and dreams, I think, outside of that locker room before the year. So, 2 hard-fought games against 2 top 10 teams. Nebraska had its full complement of players available, but I don't think was necessarily still full strength today. 2 unfortunate losses. You would have loved to split the week. But I think, Bach, everything that Nebraska still wants to accomplish long-term for this season is still completely intact. It sucks. It's going to be a tough week. It's a bitter pill to swallow, losing the way Nebraska did to Michigan and then just not having an answer for the last 8 minutes or so of this one. But I think my big takeaway is Nebraska is still good. Nebraska's not perfect anymore, but I think Nebraska is still in an enviable position.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And again, I think people are going to start, like you said, maybe kind of come off that cloud a little bit and kind of let your feet hit earth a little bit here now. And so it's not, this past week, we're undefeated. Nobody can beat us. We're going to win the Big Ten championship, then the Big Ten tournament, then we're going to go to the Final Four. And now you see the teams at that level aren't going to just, lay over and die so easily. So it will. And like you said, there's going to be tough matchups. Nebraska, for as good as this team is put together, we know, even, Illinois is a team that has been on a roll for several years, and give Brad Underwood credit because he does have to tinker with the lineup every year, but man, he's always throwing out something rather impressive. So we'll go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be back. Austin Orman is live from Pinnacle Bank Arena. We'll get more of his thoughts here on Nebraska's loss on the Hoops postgame show. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Let's fly. Your next trip starts at Lincoln Airport. Now flying nonstop service to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago. American Airlines connects Lincoln to major hubs and destinations around the globe. Wherever you're headed, LNK gets you there with new nonstop flights on American Airlines.
Now boarding.
Convenient, fast, and stress-free. Book your next flight at LincolnAirport.com. LNK, make flying easy.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Have you been looking for home technology upgrades but don't know where to turn? Online information can be contradicting and confusing. Lincoln's own experts at Dio Technologies can turn your living room into the place to watch your favorite sports. Whatever your vision is, Dio Tech is ready to make it a reality. From home theaters to outdoor entertainment spaces, they bring you along through the entire process to make sure you get exactly what you want. If you're ready to upgrade your entertainment space, visit Diotech online at diotech.net or give them a call at 402-793-5124.
Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services is here to help you protect things that are most important to you. Whether it's your home, your family, or your future, Jack Russell has the proven experience to get the job done while developing authentic relationships with you. Give Jack a call today at 402-421-9100. Again, that's 402-421-9100. Or visit one of his 2 locations in Lincoln or Seward and learn how you can excel in the complicated world of insurance. Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, a trusted and well-respected representative since 1999.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
You started your business to build something special. Now it's time to grow and protect it. At Pinnacle Bank, our treasury management services help you do just that. Through smarter payment technology, account administration, and fraud protection. So no matter the size of your business, you can get the most out of your financial operations. Request your free consultation at pinbank.com/consult. Pinnacle Bank, the way banking should be. Member FDIC.
Winter is just around the corner. Is your vehicle ready? Don't get left out in the cold. At A1 Automotive, we prep your car for whatever winter throws your way here in Nebraska. For battery checks, for brake inspections, tires, heaters, whatever your car needs to keep you and your family safe on the road, we've got you covered. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just their professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at PAHLincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, their passion for happier, healthier, furry friends.
A membership with John Henry's will fast track you to front of the line service, seasonal tune-ups, and far fewer unexpected moments. That means no breakdowns, no waiting on a call, and no nonsense. It's consistent care that prevents small issues from turning into big bills. Join the Comfort Club and get VIP treatment 365 days a year with 24-hour priority response, member-only discounts, and peace of mind on your home's most expensive systems. Call
John Henry's.
John Henry's Plumbing, heating
and electrical.
Now back to the post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket. Post-game coverage of Nebraska basketball on The Ticket is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, the Lincoln Airport, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical. It's the post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket.
Once again, thanks to our sponsors for allowing us to do this here. Always fun to do a Hoops post-game show. A little bit more fun when Nebraska comes out the victor, and that's been the case throughout a majority of the season. But the Huskers do fall today at home at Pinnacle Bank Arena to the Fighting Illini in a top 10 matchup, 78-69. Nebraska again falling to 20-2, 9-2 overall. Still a heck of a season for the Huskers, and can't wait to follow them the rest of the way. It was an interesting day, including a whiteout from Pinnacle Bank Arena. Austin Orman now joining myself, Jake Bachman, on the show from Pinnacle Bank Arena. And you must have shed your white shirt you had on, because I don't think I saw too many people not wearing white there at Pinnacle Bank. At least Nebraska got that right.
Yeah, no, I mean, the crowd understood the assignment. They followed through. I will say this, and I mean this kind of tongue-in-cheek, but also kind of literally too. Dare I say the football team took the air out of the building with the halftime dunk show?
Interesting.
It was not great. I mean, there was legitimate energy in the building before the game. Pre-game crowd was incredible. Huge cheers for Frager as he ran out for warm-ups about a minute behind the team. Huge cheer for Fred Hoiberg when he came out of the tunnel. And the crowd was pretty good in the first half, I would say. I mean, especially at the end of the half, right? Nebraska's on that 14-2 spurt to lead it by 6 at the break. But then, Bach, that entire second half, it just felt like the crowd was waiting for something. Even in moments where Nebraska did something that, would have set it on fire in the first half, it just felt like it was a little reserved. I don't know if it was nervous energy or what it was, but I felt like Nebraska, the team, came out a little bit flat in the second half. And I mean, Illinois started off on a 13-8 run right away in the first segment to get it back to within one. Actually took the lead, but Sam Hoiberg hit a 3 to actually give Nebraska the lead back going to the U16 timeout. So it was a good crowd to begin with. But again, when I think about, Nebraska just missing that little something, there were moments where I think Pinnacle Bank Arena could have helped Nebraska out a little bit more. Again, good crowd, sellout crowd, energetic crowd in the first half, but it felt like the Nebraska crowd got nervous, like, oh, is Illinois going to do this, and didn't make itself a factor. And maybe, it's a chicken and the egg thing, where if the team had made a splash play on defense or hit a couple threes in a row, that would have gotten PBA going. But I think when you think about a crowd, you have to will your team back into the game sometimes. And when Illinois went on its run, I think PBA was kind of shell-shocked. And I don't think PBA helped the Huskers out necessarily. Let's start with the team, right? Especially defensively. Illinois takes incredible care of the ball, and they don't force very many turnovers. I think both teams only had 8 between them, and some of that's understandable, right? These are two teams that are elite at protecting the basketball. Nebraska wants to get tips, wants to get deflections. That's hard to do when you have, one guy like Wagler really controlling the ball for Illinois. He's hunting mismatches, and then Nebraska has to help off in gaps. But also, too, when other guys have the ball, Illinois is just as big, if not bigger, across the board than Nebraska. And Nebraska's traps just weren't as effective today as they are against other teams that don't have the height and the length that Illinois does. So this has always been a difficult matchup for Nebraska. Michigan, you saw some of the same thing, another gargantuan team. So Nebraska, I don't know if they were at a disadvantage, but Nebraska had to find something else that worked for it defensively, and it just didn't, especially in the second half.
You kind of mentioned it too, that each coaches weren't all that happy with the officiating. Of course, they can't go on and on about that, but I think that was an interesting point to any game, and we'll talk about it every post-game show, right? Always got to grade the officials too. I want to get your thoughts on that, because to me, it didn't really affect the game too much. It didn't feel like this was, the referees out there had some Illinois colors on or something like that. What were your kind of thoughts from officiating in the coaches?
Well, yeah, it's been my similar thought the whole time. We'll start with Nebraska on the defensive side of things. So Nebraska's on defense. Fred Hoiberg said he thought Nebraska was a little jumpy, right? Did foul, did grab a little bit, especially in the half court. I did think there were some. I don't think they were wrong. I think they were quick. And I think that if Nebraska was on the receiving end of those calls, Husker fans would laugh at other teams' fans for complaining about them. There were some kind of quick whistles, right? There were some where guys trying to split a trap. Of course, it looks awkward. And instead of, making the Illinois player live with the consequences of his decision to try to split a trap, they would give him a foul call pretty quickly. Maybe some contact to the arm here and there. Maybe it ultimately ended up being the right call, but it just seemed a little bit quick, especially when Nebraska's trying to make its comeback, where all you need sometimes is that one steal, easy score. And I think Illinois is too good, too veteran, and just too talented to get rattled, if they give up one turnover and score. So I don't think it would have made a huge difference, but make the right call, right? Give Nebraska a chance. Nebraska didn't even really have much of a chance, 2/3 of the time to go for a steal out of that trap, just because of how quick the whistle was. The flip side, and this is where I've been able to, understand more of the gripes, is, yeah, Bryce Sanford's getting held off the ball. Braden Frager a little bit too. And some of that is hard to see. It's hard to tell, because the actions that Nebraska would go to off of that, when you fake the screen and you slip the cutter to the rim, some of those slips might look like they're still there at times, but you have to remember the length of guys that are on the ball and then at the rim backside, right? So some of the things that Nebraska would do to counter some of the grabbing, right? If Bryce Sanford can't get open, okay, we'll just throw it over top to the cutter going back door. Illinois' length at the rim dried up with a lot of that, and they're on the perimeter, just takes away some of those passing lanes, which is where it became so important for Nebraska to knock down the shots that they got. And they didn't get nearly as many of the same quality in the second half for the second game in a row. But yeah, I mean, I do think it's fair that Nebraska is getting bumped, is getting grabbed, especially off the ball for an offense that Fred Hoiberg says, Bryce Sanford says, and I think any neutral observer that knows anything about how Nebraska wants to play would say is built on freedom of movement, right? You got to call some of the jersey grabs. You got to call some of the tugs. And yeah, Nebraska's got to be strong enough to fight through it. But maybe it's as simple as Bryce Sanford, throwing his head back or throwing his arm up a little bit, to play the game, right? It's, play the game that's in front of you, because Nebraska just still does not want to get all the way to the rim on offense, which is understandable, right? Against a team like Illinois, when you're driving, 6'3" Jamarcus Lawrence and 6 foot Sam Hoiberg into true 7-footers, that's tough to do. That's a tough ask, right? Bryce Sanford needs some help. Hit once from the mid-range, I think. But again, when there's a 7-foot guy in the paint, they're going to live with you getting to the rim against them because they'll take their chances with it. So, yeah, Nebraska deserves some more foul calls, especially off the ball on offense. I get it. But if you're not going to get them, at some point, you can't stop trying to get them. You can't stop asking for it. But if you're not going to go to the free throw line, at some point, then you need a guy to step up and hit from the mid-range at that point, right? That's where one of the things, Block, that I think could take Nebraska to another level is an assertive Jamarcus Lawrence for 40 minutes, or Sam Hoiberg with the mid-range game, right? Sam put in some work. He hit a couple of threes, but he didn't get to the rim until late when Illinois took the Ivisic twins out of the game. Illinois went with better free throw shooting and more athletic lineups on the floor. If teams are just going to park their 7-1, 6'11" to 7'1" big guys in the middle, which, hey, you'll see that against Purdue, by the way, so watch out for that. There are stretches of that game where, and even Michigan too, I thought Jamarcus and Sam especially, maybe some Cale Jacobson, shouldn't be afraid to take some mid-range jumpers, right? That's not the shot Nebraska wants, but it might be the best shot Nebraska is going to get in that situation. You'd rather, attempt an open mid-range jumper than work around into a turnover or a contested three. I just think having that guard that can go get a bucket when your wings like Sanford and Frager are blanketed and help open things up for those guys goes a long way. I love Nebraska hunting the shots that it always has, right? You have to stay true to your identity, but that's over the course of a 40-minute game. In any 4-minute stretch and things have dried up, or 8-minute stretch where things are tough going, I would have loved to have seen Jamarcus Lawrence step up. I think 2 games, in a row now against Michigan and Illinois, right? When it's tough to get all the way to the rim, I know that's what Nebraska wants, but Jamarcus is good enough in that mid-range that if he can just take over for a 6-minute stretch of that game, I think that could go a long way opening things up for Nebraska.
Yeah, and it's interesting when he is so effective there that I think he's the only Husker on the roster that's allowed to take those mid-range. So,
seems like it.
It does feel like that at times. Was there any mention today about no Jared Garcia? Obviously they did bring, Rick Mass back from sickness, so maybe that takes some of those minutes. But Garcia particularly had his best game against Illinois the first time out.
Yeah, no, Garcia, no minutes here today, and I would say he no-showed against Michigan in the minutes he got, and he wasn't very good against Minnesota either. Didn't get a lot of clarification on that point, but no Jared Garcia, even for spot minutes, no Leo Curtis. I mean, Nebraska went, I think, with just that true, 7-man rotation with only Frager and Jacobson in off the bench. Those two combined for 50 or 49 minutes off the bench. There would have been a role for a guy like Jared Garcia, I think, especially as Nebraska struggled a little bit more on the glass, but who would you have come in for? Do you put him in place of Rink Mass and then have Buchengel out there too? Well, those are two guys that the other team in Illinois today is more than fine, sharing the court because it's going to cramp Nebraska's spacing. Jared Garcia isn't good enough to play as the only big, so your only recourse is Jared Garcia and Rink Mass, who I think we do have to have a conversation about too, Bach, because he was back. Fred Hoiberg said he looked like a guy that was in the ER till 3 in the morning, not that long ago. And I'm willing to cut Rink Mast some slack because of what he can mean to this team and because of how sick he was. I am going to throw this out there, though. Just looking at Rink Mast's game log for really the last month since Michigan State now, he went 6 of 15, including 6 of 13 from 3 against Michigan State. Since then, 5 of 14, 6 of 14, 2 of 4, 3 of 6, 4 of 13, and 3 of 11. The three-point number since Michigan State, 1 of 6, 1 of 7, 1 of 3, 1 of 3, 2 of 8, 0 of 3. Rink Mast is so vitally important to what Nebraska does, but I don't think that Rink Mast is just a presence guy. Just because Rink Mast is on the court doesn't necessarily mean that Nebraska is going to be better. Nebraska needs legitimate production out of Rink Mast, and it really hasn't gotten it consistently or efficiently, I should say, since Michigan State. Again, I give him a pass because he was so sick over the course of the last week, right? And he's going against another talented front court. But in games like this, against top 10 teams especially, Nebraska needs what Rink Mast brings to the table, not just metaphysically, not just his presence on the court, but Rink Mast, going 2 of 5 from 3 or going 3 of 7 from 3, draws one of those bigs out of the paint and opens up cutting lanes and driving lanes, right? It puts attention on him to hit some of those back cut slips like we saw before, right? It's maybe that back-breaking 3, or it's just another veteran presence that can hit that shot that keeps the other team at bay or keeps Nebraska within arm's reach. Nebraska's not worried about Rink Mast. I wouldn't say I'm worried about him, but for Nebraska to be the best version of itself, it's not enough for Rink Mast just to be on the court. Rink Mast has to be a difference maker for Nebraska, and that's got to start again sooner than later.
Yeah, and it's been interesting, and I think, Price Sanford is more and more that guy that is the difference maker, whether he's hitting or not, right? Because you got to at least respect it out there. But it has been interesting through the kind of and you'll know this. I mean, everybody knows on a basketball team, you'll have teams, guys that do go through stretches where they struggle. That stretch where Rink Mast has struggled, and not maybe directly, but Price Sanford's been scoring 20-plus points per game. So this season so far just has been about, guys picking up when maybe your star or maybe someone you would expect to kind of take over is off. To that point, I guess what are your thoughts on Braden Frager's return too? I mean, obviously he led Nebraska in scoring. A lot of it in the first half was I couldn't believe the open looks he was getting. That zone they were they were attempting to get and go in there. There's a lot I'm throwing at you here too, but Price Sanford as well, just 2 second half 3-point shot attempts I thought was kind of interesting as they kind of switched up there. What Illinois was doing, at least what they did as a result of holding him down there. What are your kind of thoughts on both those things? Both, the return here for Frager and then Sanford kind of being shut down in the second half.
Yeah, no, I mean, they both were kind of shut down in the second half, especially from long range. I mean, Frager less so, but the looks came a little bit later. I would say in the first half, it was kind of Oregon-esque, right? They both went for 12 on 4 of 7 3-point shooting. They both made 4 threes as a team. Illinois made 4 threes. Nebraska was 11 of 20 from 3 in the first half. The offense was humming, especially later on, but that's really all Nebraska had was the threat of the 3-ball. Nebraska, I think Fred Hoiberg said, went 5 of 24 inside the arc. Sanford hit one 2-point jumper, I think, in the second half. Yeah, that was his only made field goal, a little floater from kind of that third hash. Missed his 2 3-point attempts. But that's just the thing, Bach, is that Braden Frager coming out on fire, electrified PBA, kept Nebraska in it, and then put him in front, right? That's how Nebraska, despite a few sloppy possessions, awkward possessions, quick possessions against Illinois zone, was able to make it work because they hit enough threes to give themselves a chance. That's been the formula with this team. We know you don't have to be perfect when you play offense like Nebraska does. You just have to shoot it well enough from 3 to give yourself a chance to stick in it. Illinois went back to the zone here and there in the second half. Did more man-to-man traditional defense there in the second half. But this is another concern I have for Nebraska, and it goes hand in hand with the 2 points we talked about before, where I'm asking, a Jamarcus Lawrence or a Sam Hoiberg to step up in stretches, or having a productive version of Rink Mast. Because in that first half, both Sanford and Frager go 4 of 7 from 3. They get 7 combined threes in the second half. They go 2 of 7, and Frager had both those makes. Price Sanford only got 4 shot attempts in the second half. Well, he only got 7. He only got 7 in the first. 7's really not that many shot attempts for a guy that can score and shoot it like Price Sanford, or as hot as Braden Frager is going. And with the rate that Illinois was putting the ball in the basket, there were some of those opportunities. You credit the opposing defenses, right, for making Cale Jacobson take some shots, or a struggling Rink Mast take some shots, or some, inefficient, analytically shots in the mid-range. And there's just that give and take, right? Because I think Nebraska needs to do a better job of finding ways to stay consistent in the second half. Price Sanford shouldn't be taking 2 threes in a half. One of them came late, right? It's impossible for a guy to find a rhythm when he is only going to shoot it 2 times from that distance and then only 2 other times inside the arc. It would be easier for Nebraska to find some of that rhythm and flow if they got the benefit of the whistle on some of those off-ball holes, right? Getting a guy to his spot. It all works together, but it's now been, let's call it a month, right? I mean, I closed out on the game log, but Northwestern was inconsistent. Washington was inconsistent. Michigan and Illinois, you come out guns a-blazing, and you credit the other team for adjustments, but at some point, if you're Nebraska, what else is in the toolbox? How else can you get these guys open or going? And again, I get it's an egalitarian system, right? You want to have 5 guys on the floor that can be a threat. But it's been a consistent theme now that Nebraska's, key scorers have really disappeared in the second half. And it's against top 10 teams, right? You can survive it. You can get away with it against teams like Washington and Minnesota, who were pesky, but you obviously were just a little bit deeper and better across the board than. But if we're going to be talking about these upper tier, upper level games, that's where I think there's still a next step that Nebraska needs to be able to take if they want to remain in that discussion for a 2 seed, for example.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I kind of asked Sorensen this. I'm going to ask you too. Is after 2 this week, 2 top 10 losses, 1. I mean, I think gained respect and from everybody around the country, having seen Nebraska fight Michigan without their top 2 players. 2 of their top 2 players. And then, but this week, I mean, this loss is really going to be different. This is something Nebraska hasn't felt this year, which is there's no moral victories to take away. Not that they took away any against Michigan, but even that was like, all right, proud of the effort. I'm not saying that I'm not proud of certain elements of Nebraska today, but it's a 9-point loss. There's you're not it's not something where you had a shot at the buzzer and you were right there, and that can be anybody's ball game. Illinois beat Nebraska today pretty soundly there by the end of it. So I guess. My question to you is, after this week, after jumping in the top 5, we kind of mentioned it earlier, getting feelings in the world about where Nebraska could be. Where do you think they are now? Obviously, as we begin February, still a top 10 team. Do you think they're more of a top 15 team? What do you kind of see from this team right now?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we have to keep let's just take the bracketology in mind, right? It's a snapshot. Maybe it's a prediction, but I think most of these places, when they put their brackets together, it's if the season ended today, what would it be? And I think that's fair. I've understood that. I've never come out and said, no, I don't think Nebraska's a 2 seed. But I said a while ago, I think it's more likely that Nebraska's probably a 3 or a 4 seed, right? I think 3 on the upper end. If things go completely haywire and they drop all the way down to a 5, you'd still take a 5 at the beginning of the year, but you're starting to look over your shoulder and what's going on with this team. I think they have enough of a resume to ultimately settle in that 3 to 4 seed range. And that puts you, if you're the top 3 seed, you're number 9 in the country in whatever metric. If you're the bottom 4 seed, you're number 16 in the country. I think that's kind of the range for Nebraska because, like I said, they're just a thing or two that they're missing against the best of the best. Now, on any given night, they can play with any team in the country. On any given half, they can look like the best team in the country. But with a limited mass, Frigger returning, and a lack of a tertiary answer, I would say that, Nebraska's maybe a little bit lacking. But, Bach, think about that. I just said, Nebraska's probably a 3 or a 4 seed, not a 2. What world are we living in? What are we doing? If that's the conversation we're having, you start 20-0. It always feels bad to lose a game. Seemed like the locker room was pretty crushed by it, pretty devastated. They had a great opportunity to get a split of the week. But as big as a split of the week would have been, Bach, you played a top 3 in the country Michigan team close. You split your season series with an Illinois team who's one of the best offenses in the country. To me, more important than splitting Illinois and Michigan is splitting Illinois and Purdue. Because you already have some resume victories in hand, right? You have the road win over Illinois. You have a win over Michigan State. And now if you can pick off Purdue at home, you're fine. You're right on pace because there are still enough opportunities in the back half of the schedule, final 9 games for Nebraska, to where they're done with the top teams in the Big Ten in 9 days. Coming up on Tuesday the 10th against Purdue. After that, I would argue Nebraska's toughest games are probably the 2 Iowa games in UCLA. Nebraska's probably going to be favored in 8 of those conservatively, maybe 9 of them, depending on, how UCLA looks. I think Iowa will probably be favored when Nebraska goes out there in about 2 weeks. Nebraska will be favored here at home on Senior Day. But, sky is not falling. Nebraska is still in a really good position, in general, let alone relative to expectations for, the fans on the outside looking in at the beginning of the year. So No, it's now more unlikely that Nebraska ends up at the ceiling of a 2 seed, but you pick off Purdue and you get on a run, you get hot, and who knows how the Big Ten tournament looks. It's still absolutely in play for Nebraska, but if Nebraska, settles into a 3 or a 4 seed, come on, that's still incredible.
Yeah, it's been a magical ride. I agree with you. Maybe now the bracketologist might move Nebraska down for a bit, but as we mentioned, the schedule ahead provides an opportunity for another win streak to kind of move Nebraska up those rankings and back into the Big Ten championship race as well. So, like you said, sky's not falling. Plenty more to play for. Plenty more to pay attention to as Nebraska gets going. This is what happens during basketball season. And this is the first time we kind of get it as a loss that was kind of feels like a loss walking away from it.
Yeah, no, you're in the doldrums right now. You got to find a way to fight out of it. And I think for Nebraska, the way to quote unquote fight out of it is twofold. You get Rink Mass back healthy, effective, and productive, and you keep sending the tape into the league office, right? Either the Big Ten's going to say that's not a foul, quit your whining and play through it, or they're going to say, yeah, you know what, you have a point. We got to make that a point of emphasis in Nebraska games is that, hey, you can't tug these guys' jersey. Nebraska's not far away. And again, the things that I was critiquing them about, Bach, are not, fundamental problems that have held Nebraska back, right? Clearly, Nebraska's fine. Nebraska's still in a great position at 20-2. But if fans want to dream bigger, if they want to dream of second weekend and beyond, we can't say Nebraska's a finished product. We can't say that Nebraska is just a victim of the calls. No, Nebraska has things they can do better. And I think that's exciting because it gives them an objective, something to focus on and improve on here through the month of February to be playing their best basketball as they enter the Big Ten tournament and beyond.
He is Austin Orban. We better let you. They're going to close the lights, turn the lights up on you.
They're getting close. We're getting close.
We better let you go there as we wrap things up here on the Hoops Post Game Show. I'll go ahead and let you go as I read off the sponsor. But
Appreciate it. Thank you, Bach.
Yep. All right, there he goes, Austin Orban. Once again, joining us from Pinnacle Bank Arena as we wrap up this extended Hoops Post Game Show. We'd like to thank you guys for sticking around. Also, thanks to our sponsors from Union Bank and Trust. Get a great rate on 6, 12, and 24 or 24-month CDs with Union Bank and Trust. Learn more at UBT.com. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, proudly serving the Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas. John Henry's can assist you with any service like electrical maintenance, installation, or repair. Call today at 402-809-1159 or go to jhlincoln.com. That's jhlincoln.com. Lincoln Airport. Also, thanks to them, American Airlines is back at Lincoln Airport, bringing new nonstop flights from Lincoln to the Dallas-Fort Worth area and Chicago. If you want to fly to O'Hare, starting in June of 2026, with seasonal winter service to Phoenix, starting in winter of 2026. So we'll be looking forward to that. Tickets are on sale now. Once again, Nebraska falling today. We will have another Hoops Post Game Show. Of course, every time Nebraska plays, but the next one, Nebraska gets to kind of sit on this a little bit. The next game for the Huskers is not until they take on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights here coming up here on Saturday. So I think it's 11 a.m. tip. Yes, an 11 a.m. tip on BTN on Saturday will be the next time the Huskers get a chance to get back into the win column. Rutgers, for what it's worth, struggling a little bit on the year so far. 9-13 overall, 2-9 in the Big Ten with 5 straight losses. So it is a chance for Nebraska to get things going there again and kind of set up their opportunity to return home, maybe get the big win against Purdue coming up on the 10th of February. That is the next 2 games for Nebraska. So hopefully we can get back in the win column and we'll see what happens certainly in the rankings this week. Again, I've said it all along. I don't think Nebraska can fall too far in these rankings, considering that Illinois was number 9 and Nebraska was number 5 coming in today. So now you split it. Nebraska's still 20-2, Illinois 19-3. Wouldn't be shocked to see Illinois kind of more recently with the win jump Nebraska. They do have a better Big Ten record as well. But again, I don't know how much Nebraska is going to fall. I'd assume with 2 top 10 losses, not outside of the top 10. So we'll have to wait and see there. But that will wrap it up for the Hoops Post Game Show here on 93.7 The Ticket. Thanks again for listening to us. Ticket Weekends, full night of Ticket Weekends coming up next. So stay tuned.
Winter is upon us. Is your home prepared? If your furnace isn't keeping up or you've thought about replacing it,